Tuesday, June 17th, Town of Monroe Planning Board regular meeting. Noreen, would you please do a roll call?
Bonnie Franson,
Here.
Jeff Manson,
Here.
Pat Shea.
Here.
Fire exits, space for us, but there's an exit from which everyone entered, and then there's another exit here that can go out to. All right, welcome everybody to the Tuesday, June 17th, Town of Monroe Planning Board regular meeting. Noreen, would you please do a roll call?
Bonnie Franson,
Here.
Jeff Manson,
Here.
Pat Shea.
Here.
Fire exits, space for us, but there's an exit from which everyone entered, and then there's another exit here that can go out to the front door or the patio. With that, let's please stand for the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. First item on the agenda is Mountain View subdivision.
Good evening, board members. For the record, my name is Michael Morgante. I'm the project engineer for this application. Since we were here last, we received comments from the consulting engineer for the planning board, made those revisions to plans. We submitted and provided architectural floor plans, elevations with renderings. We just did receive a comment that its language seems to appears that I've addressed a majority of those comments from the last letter we received. I believe we are in line tonight for a public hearing for this particular project. If there's any other questions or comments from the board, I can do a quick presentation. I'd like to bring the plans up on the screen over there. I can do a presentation to the public before the public hearing is over.
Did you resubmit plans? I have a well letter here.
That's correct. There's no new plans that were submitted. I think the last plans.
They were made?
Yeah, well,
Okay.
at the end of April. if I'm not mistaken, yeah. The only thing we would be submitting would be architectural floor plans, elevations, and renderings.
And then we had the site plan, subdivision schematic, retaining wall, images. This is the subdivision plan. And this was previously, correct, for a subdivision, and then it's now in front of us for the two-family aspect of it?
I don't believe so. I don't recall, no.
Okay.
There was, so they were, which is one of my questions we had discussed previously, there's an existing single-family home that's either under construction or that's been constructed. We just need some clarity on that, but they're now subdividing that lot into two and a two-family home on the new lot.
Well, this is the one, but it'll have the wrong street.
Maybe you're thinking Raymond? Yeah.
All right, so, Matt, Ashley, any comments, and then we'll open it up for public hearing?
I have a few. First, several are just reminders. The applicant has submitted a wetland request to DEC. There is waiting response. Prior to construction, they're going to obtain a highway work permit and post any security necessary for work within the roadway for the drainage improvements. They've made application to Orange County Sewer District 1 for the laterals. They previously submitted architectural elevations for your review. This submittal, I believe, includes the material and color selection with it. They're reminded they need to place wetland markers in accordance with the town code once they receive final DEC jurisdiction. Then just a couple minor comments. There's a detailed plan for Duraslat drains. I'm just not sure where on the plan those are, if they're proposed. If you just clarify the location.
Sure, they were shown on the original site plan for the existing building on
Okay.
lot one. If they're not currently on the site plan, we'll show them again.
Okay. Then we just need some trench installation details for the RCP drainage pipe within the right of way. I think you'd add the pavement, curb, and sidewalk details, just in addition to those. And then, as Mike mentioned, I think we received comments from the landscape architect on the plan, on the current plan. One of those comments, and I think the response to it, was about a fence along the top of the existing retaining wall on the site, which is quite high. The response was there'll be a permanent fence installed, just indicate that on the final plan, the location of that fence. And that was all I had.
So, she has plans revised March 25th, 2025, were reviewed, and the site visit performed in February. But
That's not the most recent one.
that isn't the most, and my concern is, I don't want to get into another.
Yeah, we had that issue.
Yeah, so, we need
I'll,
to-
should probably though wait if they're gonna be resubmitting.
okay. Because this is dated June 17th.
Yeah, this
so-
just came today,
Yeah.
actually.
Yep.
Right, so we need to make sure she has the latest and greatest. Ashley, do you have comments?
I can tell you this much, Jackie from her office contacted me today.
Yeah.
Asked me a few questions, so that might be a typo, because we both looked at the same plans.
So maybe this is the second.
Maybe it
one,
mentioned
just
May
being
25th.
updated.
And it may be that the landscaping or trees haven't changed since that March plan, then it wouldn't be an issue, but we should clarify that.
Yeah. All right, so we'll check that. Ashley,
So just a couple, I did prepare a draft EAF Part 2 and negative declaration for your review, so since this is a subdivision, you'll need to review that and adopt a negative declaration before opening the hearing.
Okay.
One comment, which, there's a couple of comments I have in the neg deck that we can go through as they come up. The one was, is that existing home, is it, construction's completed? Single family home, is it still under construction?
I think it's close to completion, I'm not sure if it's actually completed.
Okay, so it's appropriate then to still say under construction, I guess, for now. And then one more item, you did submit the exterior finishes, the colors and materials for most of the exterior elements, but some things are still missing, the railings, the doors, the windows. Just go back over and look and anything that's not provided, make sure you include that for anything on the exterior. And that was it.
Thank you.
You did also receive comments from, no, I'm sorry, you haven't received comments from NCC yet on this one. I did speak with Dennis, so he's gonna be working on those for.
Okay. So I brought up the Part 2 impact assessment, short environmental assessment form. The red are the ones that there's a small impact.
Yes.
The links. So proposed action creating material conflict with adopted land use plan or zoning regulations, that's a no. Will the proposed action result in a change in the use or intensity of use of the plan? That's an impact, I mean, it is changing, but it's not significant. Will the proposed action impair the character and quality of existing community? I'm not sure if that's a small impact, because it says impair the character. So it's changing the character, is that what that
Yeah,
essentially means?
based on changing it, so when you go
Okay.
through the workbook, that's how any
Okay,
change in
okay.
the character, which the language would be better.
Yeah. I know that. This is not in the CEA, so that's no. Given the scale of the project, it wasn't anticipated to be an adverse change in the existing level of traffic, it would be a small increase, but small. small, not that it's significant.
So I think because that's a compound question, it says an increase and it fails to incorporate
Reasonably involved. All right. Will the proposed action impact existing public water supplies, public-private wastewater treatment facilities? So these are being connected and will create demand, correct?
So there's proposed wells for water supply and connected to the sewage, water for sewage disposal.
So there'll be some demand, so those are checked all small. Will the proposed action impair the character, quality, of important historic, archaeological, architectural, or aesthetic resources? That was a no. Will the proposed action result in an adverse change to natural resources? That's identified as small. With regard to the wetlands, they're not being, okay, do we expect that, is this a census urban area? Do we expect DEC will take?
I don't think so. I don't think we're in the hurry, but we did submit for jurisdiction determination, so we'll find out.
I guess anything that might happen would be small in nature, anyway, in the scale of the building. And the project. Will the proposed action result in an increase in the potential for erosion, flooding, or drainage problems? It's identified as small. Create a hazard to environmental resources or human health? No. Alright, so. I have the red line version, that's it.
Yes, actually, I just made a couple changes that just I did this one based on.
You want something to her one?
Yeah.
Okay. Just waiting for that to come through.
Yes. You can probably pull the other one, I can just go through changes.
No, came in. All right, negative declaration. For 290 Mountain Drive site plan, special use permit and subdivision. This is an unlisted action. Description of the action. Joel Mann, and Associates. Representing Monroe, approval site plan, special permit, 2-lot subdivision, 2-lot Mountain View Drive. Parcels in the SR10, within the 2F-02 family overlay district. The single-family dwellings under construction will remain, and the new 2-family dwellings proposed on lot 2. We went through part 2 shortly, 8F. Impact on land, result in change in intensity of use of land, but the impact would be small. There's already a single-family dwellings under construction. Not changing intensity of use for the neighborhood as a whole. Discussion about stormwater. And it will be directed to an on-site collection system. Will be served by a private on-site well. So we say the new dwelling, is it 2-family?
Yes.
Is it 2 wells or 1 well serving the 2-family?
I believe it's one well for the 2-family, and then a new well for the existing home.
So there's a well for the existing
That's
home.
being, the current well is being abandoned, and a new well for the existing home, and a new well for the 2-family.
Okay, but there's one, it's not 2 individual wells for each of the dwellings in the 2-family, it's just 1 well.
Correct, one well serving two there.
Okay. Required to drill 1 test well.
And so they did the test on the existing well.
Okay.
That was the, and that was the letter that you saw earlier.
Earlier, put it up. Sewer service after in a minor way. Two-family dwellings being introduced, and this requires our architectural review and approval. No significant impacts, impact on traffic and transportation. Should we say proposed action may result in an adverse change? May result in a change instead of adverse? Because adverse suggests big. Impact would be small. Proposed action will add traffic to the area, roads have capacity to handle it, no significant adverse impact. Will impact private water supplies, public wastewater facilities, will be small. And there's an item about the Monroe. Historic and archaeological. Correspondence is received that there wouldn't be any impact on historic and archaeological resources. And we get into the wetlands, water bodies. There should be a comment for water bodies. Groundwater, flora, fauna, impacts would be small. And we're waiting to get some response back from DEC. Drainage runoff from flooding. We're scrolling down. Let's just get some to stormwater drainage. That's it. Any questions, board members, on the negative declaration? No?
No.
So, subject to any change we discussed this evening, I'll make a motion that we adopt the negative declaration for 290 Mountain Drive site plan special use permit and subdivision. May I have a second?
Second.
Aye.
No rank and pick.
Jeff won that one.
Good.
Bonnie Franson,
Aye.
Jeff Manson,
Aye.
Pat Shea.
Aye.
All right, with that, we've issued a negative declaration, so I will make a motion to open the public hearing for 290 Mountain Drive. May I have a second?
Second.
I was gonna say, now neither one of them are gonna do. Pat Shea,
Aye.
Jeff Manson,
Aye.
Bonnie Franson.
Aye. All right, so is there anyone this evening that wants to speak to 290 Mountain View Avenue? Any comments? Doesn't appear. So, should we close it? Because we have 62 days for the subdivision.
I think that would be sufficient time. I don't foresee anything
that's missing.
that would not be able to be a condition.
All right.
So I think we can close it. I'm sure for some reason something came up, the applicant would be amenable to extend that time frame.
Yes.
With that then, I'll make a motion that we close the public hearing, being that there's no public comment. May I have a second?
Second.
Pat Shea,
Aye.
Jeff Manson,
Aye.
Bonnie Franson.
Aye. With that, the public hearing is closed. We will not take action this evening.
No, but I can prepare a resolution for a July meeting.
Yeah. So consensus of the board is okay to do that?
Yep.
Okay. So actually prepare a resolution, and in the meantime, we'll hopefully get a response back from the MCC, and we can clarify with Karen regarding the
Plan
comments.
she reviewed.
Right. And do we have to figure out tree replacement on this one?
At least did a one for one.
I think they're due.
Yeah,
One?
the proposal was 1-for-1,
Okay.
but I will follow up with Karen and
Okay. Make sure there's nothing in that. Okay, very good. That's it for this evening, for 290. Now you got,
Thanks for your time.
all right. So, next item on the agenda is 477 Springs Road. If you want to come on up to the podium.
This one's a continued public hearing.
Continuation, okay.
Hi, good evening. My name is Isaac Stein. I do the design. Came to represent 47 Sun Springs. We're in continuous continuation of the public hearing. So we did submit some new documents based on the meeting, last meeting. We had somebody, a neighbor.
Yes.
So we did push in the house a couple of feet, so it should be like mainly under his big retaining wall over there. So I hope this addresses the issue.
So this is a continuation. Is there anyone here from the public for Mosey Birch? Yes.
Okay,
Councilwoman.
Councilwoman Mary Graham, here representing Dennis Fordham, as he could not come tonight. I have a letter from the Monroe Conservation Commission, and I just like a minute or two or three, I'm quite sure how long it takes for me to read this. So again, this letter is from Dennis Fordham. I have quickly reviewed the plans, no site visit made for the subject project, and have the following advisory recommendations. Note that the code sections referenced relate to the recently approved tree preservation law. 1. Ensure that new planting details for new trees comply with section 57-86B. For example, the hole should be 2 to 3 times as wide as the root ball, bracket 57-86B, bracket 2, bracket. Revise or clarify landscape details on sheets 3 and 4. 2. Ensure that tree protection measures of existing regulated trees to remain comply with section 57-85C. 4. Tree protection details shown on sheet 3 of 4 should be revised accordingly. 3. Adjacent to the west boundary, there are 2 26-inch oaks, bracket south, bracket, and a 24-inch maple, bracket north, bracket, shown on sheet 4 of 4 to be removed. These are shown very close to the tree protection buffer zone. In the interest of trying to preserve larger specimen trees, please consider revising the grading impacts to preserve these trees. 4. Some new planting trees are shown relatively close to existing trees. This may be okay, but as a general rule, planting a distance of approximately 10 feet from well-established trees will be preferable to allow the new trees to grow somewhat unimpeded by adjacent trees. Please consider revising location of some of the close spaced new trees. Respectfully submitted, Dennis Fordham, Chair of the Conservation Commission, June 17, 2025.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else have comments? Okay. Should we close the public hearing at this point?
Thank you.
I'll make a motion that we close the public hearing, 47 Seven Springs Road. May I have a second?
Second.
Pat Shea,
Aye.
Jeff Manson,
Aye.
Bonnie Franson.
All right, so, Matt, you had comments?
Yeah, second comment there, I believe we just received comments from Karen Art on the tree plan.
So she has these,
And it looks like these were based on an older version of the plans as well. She's dating April 17th, but the plans were revised in May. I don't know that do you know if any of the landscaping changed between April and May, your submissions? Or is it mainly just shifting the home?
So since the last meeting? No, the planting didn't change.
The plans haven't changed.
no plans. So, how should
into the condition that they're to be satisfied to Karen's satisfaction. So to the extent they're not already incorporated in her comment memo, then she would require them to be complied with.
Okay, so we won't tell on the plans until she's had a chance.
You mentioned the weight of the porch versus the weight.
So I did, then I changed it after seeing your memo to say to show the porch, because
Okay.
my understanding, the porch is still proposed on the new dwelling, correct? It wasn't shown on the site plan, or it was shown on the floor plans
Which porch?
for the new dwelling.
Yeah,
So it's actually not a porch, it's grade level, so it's like one patio.
So I think there was something labeled,
porch on the plan.
yeah.
You mentioned the weight of the porch versus the weight.
So I did, then I changed it after seeing your memo to say to show the porch, because
Okay.
my understanding, the porch is still proposed on the new dwelling, correct? It wasn't shown on the site plan, or it was shown on the floor plans
Which porch?
for the new dwelling.
Yeah,
So it's actually not a porch, it's grade level, so it's like one patio.
So I think there was something labeled,
porch on the plan.
yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, there's a proposed porch, it says, but
Let's see,
there's not any, it's not pointing to anything, but on the prior plan, it was pointing to something.
Yes, in the architectural plan there, the floor plan on the left, I believe, labels a porch.
in the back, on the top.
On the top.
No, or, side right.
Sign right over here.
That, I believe, is labeled a porch.
There. It's a porch.
It is a porch, but it's not,
Okay.
it's not at all.
Okay, so it's on the ground.
It's on the ground, that's correct.
Okay, and is there a roof over it?
Yes.
Okay, so I think, you should dimension from the roof to the, property line, just to confirm there's no issues with the setback and that. So the yards are supposed to be unobstructed, full ground up. And the porches are allowed to project into the side yard. That would, the building inspector can verify that projection.
So you're saying that the roof can be in the setbacks?
I believe so. I'd have to confirm with Ben
Yeah.
how far it's allowed to project into it.
So on the elevation, where's this,
The elevation would be right over there.
this guy?
That, gets that right there.
Okay, so it says concrete finished porch, so it looks like it's actually being installed on concrete.
It's more of a patio, I think, of the porch.
The side elevation.
Is that an egress point?
Is the last page? So this is on the top view. That's basically, it shows grade level.
It's this?
Yes.
Yeah.
So there's,
Now that I'm looking at, actually, I don't believe that they could have in the side yards.
they can't.
You could have open or lattice enclosed fireproof fire escapes or stairways required by law projecting into the yard not more than 4 feet.
So we are. Hopefully this up-
So you could have the concrete portion of it just on the roof.
So is this structure, is it right here? Is that where the porch is happening?
Yes.
Not
But
back
it's
here.
not actually, yeah, it's not
So
actually.
that's the back patio, the one shown with it. This is the back patio,
Okay.
and the front, the porch is not shown on the side.
So, I mean, so essentially it has to come off or it requires variance.
I believe, I mean,
We have to make a determination.
as to whether it could exist without a roof, it's still considered then part of the.
What was the language again?
So this says open or lattice enclosed fireproof fire escapes or stairways required by law, projecting into a yard not more than 4 feet.
More than 4 feet. Do we know how far from the shed the size was?
Looking at the architectural plan, it was probably the width of the structure was probably 7 or 8 feet. partially inside the setback. So it most likely projects in 5 feet, 6 feet.
So I think,
So this is a quarter to one. Ah, it's this piece, right? Right
Yes.
here. So this looks like it's, what's the projection? Is the projection
Would be that right there.
all this here?
Yes.
So this is, let's see on this. 1 quarter to one.
You want, I can make sure that it should be 4 feet.
Is it okay if it is 4 feet?
Yeah, it's not a problem.
Yeah, I'm asking the attorney whether,
Oh.
if that qualifies as a, I don't know if that qualifies as, an open, or allows enclosed fireproof, fire escape, or stairway.
so this is about 70 feet.
And it starts within the 15-foot setback. So if it's already 2 feet, maybe that's projecting 5 to show
Okay. So it's not right immediately against
the
the
setback.
house isn't right on the having setback.
Correct.
So maybe 5 feet.
Correct.
So if it's allowed to project 4, do you want to commit to no more than 4 and change the plans? Or do you want to have to go to ZBA?
I don't see an issue with 4 feet. 4 feet serves the purpose. It's an entry into the house.
Okay.
Was
It's not a primary entry, it's just a side entry.
It is a problem.
It's the primary entry.
Yes.
So it's the primary entry into the house. Didn't you say something is required?
Open or lattice enclosed fire escape, or stairway required by law.
Yeah.
So I don't know that it fits into that.
Well, maybe an entry may be required, but that doesn't mean you can set it back.
Yeah.
Yeah. So are you thinking that 4 is okay, 4 feet? Or is that
Well, it has
a
to be.
determination?
It's 4 feet if it is something that's required.
If it's required.
It's not just 4 feet, right? So I think
So,
you can't approve a plan that doesn't comply with the zoning, so I think we need to resolve this issue before.
so if we wanted to address it tonight, just trying to think of alternatives here, we could say that the porch shall be revised to comply with the determination made by the building inspector with regard to projections in side yards. So if he says you can't do it, then you're going to have to change the design so it doesn't project. Which, I don't know how much room there is to play with at all. It might be like a foot or 2 off of the yard setback.
The other can't be any setback at all, I don't know if that would work.
Any thoughts, board members?
They might require changing the actual building footprint, shrinking it or moving it a little further.
Do they need a concrete pad in front of the door? Like, oh.
No, I don't think so. I mean, you can have a,
Can you come up to the podium, please, so I can get you? That's okay.
I mean, I have a porch, it's wood, you know, you don't have to have concrete.
Yeah, it's just a concrete pad in front of the door. It's like,
So if there's no roof over it, would that be better?
I think that would be, unenclosed, right?
Right.
Yeah, closed.
So I think that,
Or if it was more like, you could have a, so is it unenclosed if you have a roof, but you have instead just a pillar under it, and then you go to the door? Like a porch overhang, but it's not, this looks like it's entirely enclosed. So it's not enclosed, it's just a little overhang, so when it rains, you know.
right.
so what about if we say revise the building footprint consistent with architectural plans to show the porch, patio, et cetera, to comply with the zoning law to the satisfaction of the building inspector,
Yeah.
and provide the dimensions from the porch to the side of the lot, that way, anything that
Yeah. So, 'cause we can add to tonight, but you have to comply with whatever that says.
All right.
So
You're okay with
if
that?
you need to
Yeah.
shrink the.
Yeah,
as well,
and ultimately, if it doesn't work,
then you'll have to.
you'll have to come back.
Right.
That's okay?
Yeah.
All right?
Or a variance.
Or with variance.
Either way, you're doing that.
Okay. All right. So that's what we'll do. So do you want to send me an update to that resolution? Or do you want to just go through it and then tell us what language to add?
Yeah, I can just go through it. Definitely.
All right. All right, so we're going to entertain a resolution of approval for site plan and special use permit for Moses Hirsch. Mr. Hirsch is the applicant for site plan and issuance of a special use permit that would allow construction of a two-family detached dwelling. It would be a 2,760 square foot addition on an existing single-family dwelling to convert it into a two-family dwelling. And it will be served by an on-site well and on-site wastewater disposal system. The address 47 Springs Road. This is tax parcel 1-1-11.21. This is in the SR 10 zoning district and 2F-O overlay district. There is a list of the plans that have been reviewed for this application. It was received November 4th, 2024. Public hearing. Did we close the public hearing yet?
Yes.
We did close it, right? Okay, sorry. Seeker is a type 2 action, 239M was not required to be referred. You got that? No, couldn't. Planning board determines that the site plan and special permit will substantially serve the public convenience, safety, and welfare, will not be detrimental to the neighborhood, etc. Meets the following objectives in terms of the special use permit requirements that are listed. And the specific findings include a licensed professional engineer, Brian Friedler. I certify that the town engineer has verified that based upon the soil testing, the wastewater disposal system is one that can be constructed and meets requirements. Only one driveway shared by both dwelling units, and driveway width does not exceed 24 feet at any point within the front yard. No grading or removal of natural vegetation for the first 50% of the required front yard closest to the front lot line. Applicants proposing new trees will be required to maintain all plantings in a healthy environment condition as a condition of this approval. So are we changing anything yet? For the?
No, I'll let you know.
Okay. We reviewed it from an architectural review perspective. Project presents a proper case to require parks. Planning board finds this project requires a payment of fee in lieu providing parkland. There are no public improvements. So we're going to approve this subject to the specific conditions. Number 1, approval subject to final engineering review of the plan sets. And including any of the deficiencies noted in the June 16, 2025 memo. Prior signing the plans, to revise the plans to incorporate changes suggested in the MCC report, memorandum from the planning board's landscape consultant, dated June 17th. And then prior to signing the plans, they'll be revised to include listed drawings on sheet 1. Revise the building footprint consistent
So
with the
this is where
architectural
we're going to
plans.
change, it's going to say revise the building footprint to show the porch, patio, et cetera, in compliance with the zoning law of the town of Monroe to the satisfaction of the building inspector, and provide the dimension from the porch to the side lot line.
Okay, so that's the revision to B.
Yes.
And then C will have a tree preservation note.
And they do have a tree preservation note on the plans, but there's a couple of revisions that have to be made just to track the penalties in the new law. So you can just copy and paste what I have there in the resolution.
Prior to signing the plan, shall deliver payment of fee in lieu of parkland. Comply with New York State DEC tree removal restriction for Indiana and Northern long-eared bats. The building's design and architecture will be consistent with the elevations that we approve.
And you can take off as revised in accordance with the resolution, because there's no revisions to those.
Okay, so no revisions here. All landscaping trees maintain a healthy and vibrant condition, shall be replaced if damaged or otherwise destroyed. That would be replaced in kind, any substitution requires planning board approval. Exterior lighting will be 2700.
Actually, I'm sorry, go back and don't take that out and revise, because it might be revised based on the porch.
Yeah, right. All exterior lighting shall utilize 2700 Kelvin and comply with dark sky standards. Relies on drainage study. No building permit for structure larger than shown to be issued unless a drainage study is submitted and approved. No disturbances allowed or allowed beyond what's shown on the site plan. No C of O shall be issued until all improvements in landscaping is completed. There's a outdoor fixtures and amenities. It's whatever is shown on the site plan, and nothing else will be added unless the approval of the building inspector and the planning board. And then we have a series of general conditions which are standard to our resolutions. Any questions?
Yeah, you said something about the bat and the Indian.
Indiana and Northern Long-Eared Bat?
Yeah, so we did get a letter from the Shippo department.
That wouldn't be SHPO, that would be New York State DEC. SHPO is historic and archaeological,
Yeah.
and New York State DEC, pretty much for every application and every site plan.
Oh, so that's for the certain dates when.
Yes, for the tree removal.
And that note is on the plans.
Okay, so you're fine with that. All right, are there any other changes, any comments, any questions? So with that, I'll make a motion that we adopt the resolution of approval and site plan special use permit for Moses Hirsch, subject to the changes we discussed this evening. And a second.
Second.
Maureen?
Pat Shea,
Aye.
Jeff Manson,
Aye.
Bonnie Franson.
Aye. With that, the motion carries. It's approved, subject to those conditions, and I think the first thing you have to do is a vet to find out what you might have to do to comply
Yeah.
with that yard requirement, or if you really want it, then you have to pursue a variance.
Got it. So can I get a copy of the landscape engineer, or I'll get it on email?
The landscape comments,
Yeah.
we could send that to you
Mhm.
tomorrow.
All right, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
All right, good night.
Have a great night. All right, next item on the agenda is the continuation of the public hearing
Yes.
for O&R substation. Good evening. Whenever you're ready.
Madam Chair, members of the planning board, my name is Leslie Snyder. I'm a partner in the law firm of Snyder and Snyder. I'm here tonight on behalf of Orange and Rockland Utilities, along with Kevin Suzanek of E&M, the project engineer, and Mike Hominick, who's with the O&R engineering department. As you're aware, O&R is seeking a special use permit site plan approval to install public utility substation in its property at Forest Avenue and Forest Street. The property is in the LI Light Industrial District and consists of approximately 12 acres. The reason that O&R is seeking to construct this facility is to ensure the reliability of electricity to the area. And in response to comments, and as we've discussed at many hearings, we submitted a detailed need and alternative study on May 27th, along with revised plans. We also submitted a construction management plan. As you know, this facility is unmanned, so we know ongoing traffic on a regular basis. Also we have submitted a noise study to show that we will not create any ambient noise. We've also submitted an EMF study to show that we're in compliance with all PSC criteria with respect to EMS. We've also shown that there'll be no ongoing lighting, and that the lighting there'll be no lighting impact on any neighboring properties. So we're here tonight. I know there were some comments we saw from NHB, and we're hopeful that the planning board can close the public hearing and vote accordingly, since we do want to get started as soon as possible on the substation.
Thank you. So since this is a continuing public hearing, I will ask if there are anyone here from the public that would like to comment on our stations. Anything?
Good evening, Councilwoman Mary Bingham. At the last month's meeting, some of the residents had questioned about a battery storage because technology changes and everybody hears about the lithium storage. The reply by the applicant kind of left some of the residents confused because they stated currently no storage was planned. The residents really feel that it should be that even in the future, no lithium storage is planned there. There is a possibility that there is an aquifer in that area, and that would be very detrimental if any of these contaminants were to get into the aquifer. So they are very concerned about that. They mentioned, the residents were questioning if the substation could be made smaller, if the temporary one that is currently on Larkin Drive was made permanent, because then you have two substations. Could they equal what this one would be if it was made to its full capacity? So they would like that answer. And also, they wanted to know, isn't there a high voltage power line that crosses Route 17? They weren't quite sure because, it's kind of hard when you're driving and all of a sudden you see above you there's a power line that says, high voltage, and they think it says high voltage. So that could be addressed just to have it clarified, because I think one of the concerns of the residents was that it's not Monroe that definitely needs the power that's being foreseen for the future.
Yeah.
So could some other municipality that needs the power be the place where the substation would be built? Yeah. So as I said, those are the concerns, and thank you very much.
Thank you. Councilwoman, did they indicate where they think the high power lines cross?
I'm not exactly
Did you
sure.
say
I know
over
I've seen it,
17?
but when you're driving, it's not like something,
Yeah.
power lines, if you have like one of those big tractor trailer trucks, you have to be concerned about it, but since I'm just driving it, I kind of don't really pay attention to it, but
Okay.
that could be addressed. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, anyone else? Comments, please?
Chairperson Franson, board members, Jeff Scully, Special Counsel Andy Van Ryder, on behalf of Sherry Toro. I just want to give you an update of where we are. We have been working through our concerns we previously expressed with Orange and Rockland County. We had a meeting this morning with council down in White Plains. My colleague Rich Mann attended that meeting. While we haven't reached a definitive agreement on mitigation of our concerns, and those are the concerns we expressed both here before the board and on the May 20th submittal to Chairperson Franson, those concerns still remain front and center. But we are, as I said, discussing mitigation measures that will both be situated along the boundary of our property as well as on the property, our property itself. Our chief concern continues to be, the safety of our students, our administrators, and our staff. And while we're not there yet, we are hopeful that we're going to reach a resolution. We need to talk, as we've said. We're hopeful to come to some resolution that allows this important project to go forward while also addressing our concerns. But currently, we are maintaining our objection, and yet we're hopeful we're going to be able to work this out.
Okay. So, quick question. So the status is this is still open from your perspective?
It is. It is. We had good discussions today, but we don't have a definitive agreement on mitigation measures.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Let's see if anyone else. Any other comments for Orange and Rockland at this point? No? All right. So you may have some responses.
Sure. As the board requested, we have been in talks with Sherry Toro submitted a detailed letter responding to each and every one of their comments. Some of their requests, there's various reasons that we can address, but I won't get into that this evening. We're going to see what other means we can do to address, their needs. 'Cause some of their needs have nothing to do with the project, in fact, of you. So those are some of the things that we can address, but we did respond to each and every one of their comments. And with respect to the councilwoman's comments about the battery storage, there's no battery storage here proposed. If you ever do come to battery storage, we have to go before the board and go through the process, but there's no plan for battery storage. I think we stated that at the last meeting as well. And the Larkin Drive substation is a mobile. It's not a permanent substation. It's got mobile equipment. It's not needed for a permanent installation.
So
It won't be able to make this one smaller.
it's not designed to stay, it's going to be removed as
Exactly.
soon as this one's constructed?
Exactly. And this isn't, as you know, it's not a very large substation or space. It's very small on the 12-acre property.
So if that station is right there, is it sending then power over to the north side of, how is it?
Correct, yeah, there is just there, so.
And then it ties in,
And it ties into the local distribution system.
to your knowledge, are there any high power lines crossing over 17?
There are, I'm assuming they're probably talking about closer to the Orange and Rockland Lakes. There's
Okay.
a few different sections of high voltage transmission lines that feed out to Blooming Grove substation, 196 from Monroe to Blooming Grove is over there.
So the Orange and Rockland Lake, this has then distribution lines that cross over?
There are transmission lines, probably out to the left of the screen, if you go over 17.
There's 11.
Yep, there you go. You can see in the tree line where there's a cut, just a little bit further.
Oh, right here.
Yep,
Got it, okay.
that's our existing line 96.
And that's going to Blooming Grove?
That feeds the recently constructed Blooming Grove substation.
Right, that's new. if I
Yeah,
recall, right?
replacing an old station.
Okay.
Those lines have been there for a very long time.
Okay, but I think this is the new station, right?
Correct.
This is one under construction. So is that, so the Orange and Rockland though is not serving the same, it cannot serve the same area that needs the service, or?
Yeah, that's correct. That substation is serving out at the very edge of the territory of Blooming Grove, and the section is coming back. This substation that's being proposed is serving the Monroe and KJ area.
Okay, like the village proper, not necessarily South Blooming Grove or Blooming Grove. Okay. So, do we want to entertain closing the public hearing? Any concern about closing the public hearing?
Not
Any concerns?
No.
No? All right, I'll entertain a motion that we close the public hearing for the Orange and Rockland substation on the second.
Second.
Pat Shea,
Aye.
Jeff Manson,
Aye.
Bonnie Franson.
Aye. All right, so why don't we go into Matt's comments, Ashley's comments, and determine where we are.
Sure. Not much new in my comments.
Correct, yeah, there is just there, so.
And then it ties in,
And it ties into the local distribution system.
to your knowledge, are there any high power lines crossing over 17?
There are, I'm assuming they're probably talking about closer to the Orange and Rockland Lakes. There's
Okay.
a few different sections of high voltage transmission lines that feed out to Blooming Grove substation, 196 from Monroe to Blooming Grove is over there.
So the Orange and Rockland Lake, this has then distribution lines that cross over.
There are transmission lines, probably off to the left of the screen, if you go up over 17.
To the left.
Yep, there you go. You can see in the tree line where there's a cut, just a little bit further.
Oh, right here.
Yep,
Got it, okay.
that's our existing line 96.
And that's going to Blooming Grove?
That feeds the recently constructed Blooming Grove substation.
Right, that's new. if I
Yeah,
recall, right?
replaced the old station.
Okay.
Those lines have been there for a very long time.
Okay, but I think this is the new station, right?
Correct.
This is on construction. So is that, so the Orange and Rockland though is not serving the same, it cannot serve the same area that needs the service, or?
Yeah, that's correct. That substation is serving out at the very edge of the territory of Blooming Grove, and the section is coming back. This substation that's being proposed is serving the Monroe and KJ area.
Okay, like the village proper, not necessarily South Blooming Grove or Blooming Grove. Okay. So, do you want to entertain closing the public hearing? Any concern about closing the public hearing?
Not really.
Any concerns?
No.
No? All right, I'll entertain a motion that we close the public hearing for the Orange and Rockland substation on the second.
Second.
Pat Shea,
Aye.
Jeff Manson,
Aye.
Bonnie Franson.
Aye. All right, so why don't we go into Matt's comments, Ashley's comments, and determine where we are.
Sure. Not much new in my comments from last week. We did review the SWIP, provided comments on that. Had a good call with the applicant's engineer yesterday to go through those comments. We agreed on how they would be addressed, and what plan revisions would be made. So providing that's what gets submitted and revised, that should be fine. Just a reminder, the rule really indicated the word required a DEC permit for work adjacent to the wetlands. There is a small amount of drainage work within Forest Street, which will require a permit from the Town Highway Department prior to construction. And I believe we did also receive comments from your landscape architect regarding this.
Ashley? So at your meeting last week, the board did review the EAF Part 2 and authorized me to prepare a negative declaration. I don't have that for you this evening, but I'll have that for July. And no other comments, other than I can prepare a resolution myself for July.
So I would say, if the board agrees, we could have, if it's a consensus, we could have Ashley start to draft a resolution, a decision, resolution of approval, so that we have a chance to review in advance. I think as part of that resolution, we could specifically say that no battery storage is allowed here. And they have to come back to be explicit.
I don't know that that's permitted in the town.
And I think we may have, the regulations may say if not permitted, it's prohibited, but,
Usually they do.
yeah. And I don't know if that would then somehow be interpreted to be accessory, but I think just for the benefit of the public, to say for battery storage. Anything else we want to discuss with regard to this application?
I do have one question that I want to ask. We talked about the EMS and whether there would be any, what I would say, excess electromagnetic fields that would possibly reach over to the school. That was one of the concerns about the Sheratoric group. So could we say, I mean, would it be accurate to say that there is really no increase in EMFs that would affect that field? Because we have the high power lines already, and those are the main things that are generating the EMFs, as I understand it.
Yeah, that's correct. The EMF report that was provided states that there is no increase to the EMF beyond the property lines. There are currently high tension lines that are there.
You know, that was one of the big questions they had and one of the big concerns they had. And so, I don't know if it's appropriate to put in there that we examine that and we feel comfortable that there won't be any increase.
Yeah, I think that would
Yes,
be.
that'll be
negative
addressed in
declaration.
negative declaration.
Good.
I think that's it. I can't think of anything other than, we have to see the neg deck and see the resolution. Is Orange Rockland continuing to communicate with the joiners? Will there be additional discussions, or what's the status?
Yes, we will be discussing, we discussed a few options we're going to get back to me, like some things. They suggested some things on our property, which we didn't think was appropriate, but they said we would look to see if there was some screening or something that they wanted on their property, so I'm waiting to hear back from them on that.
Okay.
Some screening?
Yeah.
You say, okay.
And so, that would have to get reflected on any plan or on.
Yeah, so if
any-
there's gonna be any improvements on the neighboring property,
Yeah.
they would need to
Right.
show
I don't
that
think
they
they
need
really
an
improvements,
authorization.
like, I think they haven't completed all their landscaping.
Some landscaping,
Right, that they had maybe on their original plan.
and they didn't complete the
I
landscape.
don't know,
Oh,
but I think
okay.
that's where they're going. But we really haven't gotten into the details yet, so
Okay.
let me discuss that
Yeah, so
further.
we kind
and
of just
then-
keep the, if you come to the resolution or have something. then
Right, we
we
can reflect that. I assume if it's just landscape, that would be something they would need to put on a plan, I guess.
When, with the submissions, the responses, one of the complaints that the residents had was it represented people associated with Eleanor parking in the road. And I don't know if that was for construction or if that was inaccurate, but, for the submissions, does it address, or we need to address in the resolution that there won't be any parking on Forest?
I believe the construction management plan that was submitted
Exactly.
Okay, perfect.
indicated that all construction vehicles, material storage, et cetera, will take place on the site
Okay,
within the transmission line corridor.
okay,
But maybe that could be referenced in there as well.
okay. I know we closed the public hearing, but just a quick question. Do you know when the hours of operation are for the school? Was that discussed?
Well, it's not exactly on the website, but I believe, and I don't know, maybe you know, the school is 9 to 3, I think, or maybe 4.
That sounds correct, but I'm not sure.
Okay.
I have to write that back and get it to board.
The construction management plan submitted indicated that they will monitor traffic to avoid impact to school bus and rush hour schedules. Maybe that can be clarified in further discussion with the school and see what their hours are.
I was gonna ask, what's the noisiest component of construction? And related to noise, is there a time when school is out of session? Like public schools were out of session in this, summer months, or is the school out of session at the time? If you find that.
I will relay that back over as well.
Thank you.
Yeah, the noisiest component would be rock removal, which would typically be done chipping and hammering.
So we're doing chipping and hammering for blast.
Correct. Underneath the transmission.
Yeah.
lines, mechanical
I was gonna say.
Mike calls it a problem.
Very much so.
So, all right, so chipping and blasting.
Chipping and hammering. No
Chipping
less.
and hammering, sorry. But I don't think, there was an expensive rock, was there?
We're still waiting for all the geotech to come back, but there is some rock that sticks to the surface, so we do feel like there will be some rock required.
Is that for the road or is it more for the actual site?
It's mostly along the road and the cut section, so the substation itself is half of the cut and half of the fill. The road coming in has a retaining wall, cut wall on the right-hand side.
Okay. Okay. It'd be good to get a sense of how long that will be, in general, like is that 2 days, 10 days, just as part of our seeker review. All right? Thank you. That's all I have. Okay. All right, I think that's it for this evening.
Thank you. Did receive comments from Karen as well, so I sent them to the applicant so they can address those amendments.
Okay. Thank you. I think MCC had
The
been out
NCC
there.
also did it in last week.
Yeah.
Leslie, did you receive the NCC comments as well? Last week?
Did June 10th?
I think June 10th or
Yeah,
11th.
Dennis said he's fine. I saw that work session.
Thank you.
The issue was how much they were paying for the
You're clearing the way, George.
Have a good evening, thank you. Thank
No,
you.
he's not.
All right, returning projects, we have Brazewood Drive lot number 3. Good evening.
Yeah, I'll find out.
My name is Troy McNeil. I'm happy to find. There was some project. So we was on the board last time and we had conversations about the walkways, parking, about the lot coverage. And based on the board's suggestion from the board, we discussed the plan that make sure to make a walkway which makes sense. And we have revised the site plan. The walkway is in the center. We have 1 3-foot walkway, and we added the wraparound wooden deck out through to get to the door from the front, which makes more sense than the previous plan. So, and also we put back, based on the determination from the building inspector, we put back, it should be a regular walkway, concrete walkway, and the parking should be the pavement. And we have we have 4 parking spaces after the setback. And also, in order to comply with lot coverage, we have to reduce the size of the building, 3 feet, from right to left, from front to back, which we have now, the site setback 16.7 on one side, 16.8 on the other side. We have in the back 87.4. And also we have noted on the plan that the deck comes into the setback only 3.3, which is allowed to go till 4 feet. So we are in compliance with the zoning. And the elevation, we have also revised the front design, more appealing, and also we have added all the information on the furnishings. For the tree plan, we have added 2 more trees because we're cutting now 2 more trees from the previous approved site plan. The this is basically what we have, no solution.
Okay, thank you. Matt, comments?
Yep, well, as was just discussed, the lot coverage is now reduced to 30% by reducing the footprint of the buildings, and then providing a 3-foot wide walk from the parking spaces to the units. So that appears to be complete. They will submit an updated SWIP for this, I believe, once the layout's confirmed and good. The revision isn't much to it. I think it's only an additional driveway or two, which are shown on the plan. And then these are just some final comments. They've stated they've submitted a stormwater maintenance agreement for review and a portable or user agreement with the village. And then the application noted that there will be some additional trees removed, and there are trees shown for screening on the plan. And that's been provided to Karen for review.
Okay.
And we don't see we received her.
We didn't receive anything today from Calla, right?
Sorry?
We didn't receive anything today from Calla?
Not for this, I don't believe.
Okay. All right. Ashley, comments?
Just a couple, so you did get some architectural review details. There looked like there were maybe some discrepancies on the rendering and the elevation description between the colors of the doors, for example, and I think the material of the deck. It's described on the renderings that the doors are going to be light brown, the deck color wasn't clear. So that'll be something that will have to be specified if it's the elevation that controls or the rendering, or if that can be clarified on the applicant's end. And then also you need a specification sheet for the light and for the sconces.
Quick question, are these going to be mirror glass, or it's just your rendering, they're going to be
Just
regular
the
glass? Okay. I'm not a big fan of mirror glass, so they're bird killers. And is that a light that's on the bottom left-hand side?
Yes, so on the bottom left-hand side, it's no window in this room.
Okay.
So we have struts. And so
Like a little detail.
we put in a little deeper frame, a different material, and sconce, like a LED strip to make some, it should be aligned with the window, not to look like empty space.
Okay. And then to the right is the door.
That's it.
Yeah, it's a little hard to make out because it's looking like it's, like I said, reflection, but that's the door,
Yeah.
from what I can tell. And then the other door is on the other, where's the other
So
door?
the doors is on the two sides. This door is like the back of the front room.
Okay,
They wrap it around to the.
that would be the main doors on the side?
What?
The main door is on the side? Okay, and same thing with this unit?
Yes,
Why does this one have a door and then this one, it's just a configuration layout?
because it's two
Two different designs?
two different layouts. Everybody has his windows. You want to change his configuration of their rooms.
They're their own design style? Okay. All right, board members, comments, questions on this one? Do we have a resolution? No. Do we need a resolution?
No, so this one had been before you a couple of times because they were going to be needed to go to the ZBA for the coverage
The lot
variance.
coverage, yeah.
So this is the first, now they've revised it,
Oh,
to get rid of that.
so
So I
there's
should
no-
prepare a resolution
We
for
have
July.
a public hearing.
Got it, okay.
That's right, you do need a public hearing because it is a special permit.
Okay, and no like that, because it's
Take two.
type 2. All right, so we can put you on for July. We'll do the public hearing, and then do we have consensus that Ashley can start to write up a resolution of approval?
Yes.
Yes? Okay, so we'll write a resolution for July.
Okay, so next week, if no public comments, we can.
Next month.
Next month.
I think it'll be next week, as far as
So
I know.
it would be a motion to schedule the public hearing for July 15th at 6:30 PM.
I'll make a motion that we schedule a public hearing for 81 Raywood Drive on July 15th. Did you say?
15th
15th
at 6:30.
at 6:30 or soon thereafter. May I have a second?
Second.
Marie?
Bonnie Franson,
Aye.
Jeff Manson,
Aye.
Pat Shea.
Aye.
Okay, so we'll schedule our public hearing, and then if there aren't
That's
any
the action.
comments, we can close it, and we could potentially act on it.
Okay, thank you so much. Have a good night.
Have a good
You
night.
too.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so next item on the agenda is Home Depot. Good evening.
Dorn Down with Kinley Orange, at Home Depot. Just as a quick reminder, we are proposing outdoor storage areas around the perimeter of the Home Depot and within the parking lot. Since the last meeting, we've addressed all the board's comments, the main one being getting the parking variance from the ZBA.
Okay. So, I think we got the ZBA resolution here. So parking, 918 parking space required, 585 proposed. I wonder if there was a variance before.
So there was a reduced amount of parking, I think it was 6 something,
Okay.
and I don't know if that was part of the original, or whether it was a variance, or whether at that time there was some ability to waive some parking, but
Okay.
this decision does grant it from the 918, since that's now what would be required, but it recognizes that there was a reduced amount approved with the original site plan.
Okay, so this is far further reduction.
So I think it's 26 spaces from what was approved on the original site plan, but a total of 585 from, I'm sorry, 333 from what was required.
So in terms of the conditions, just continue to review and final approval by the town and our planning board. Pay all fees and expenses, and then comply with other applicable laws, rules, and regulations. So it doesn't seem like they added anything specific. So they granted the relief, and then it's just subject to getting their approvals from us. Okay. Matt, comments?
Just, as Ashley and I had discussed earlier today, as you said, the ZBA variance reduces it to 585. The parking table on the plan shows 580 provided.
Yeah, that's the correct number. It should be 580.
So
Okay,
that's something, I had mentioned that to Noreen so that she could check to see if there was some sort of error, perhaps typo in the ZBA decision, but I don't believe she's heard back yet, so that's
listing
something.
is 611,
Okay.
so you take the 31 away and you're at 580.
Okay.
So then you have the cover letter, I think that was submitted, said 26,
Right, and it's the 31.
and the ZBA decision says 26, so I think it's just a question of what.
So we're not gonna be able to resolve this tonight. We have to figure out what ultimately is a typo, or did they grant relief from 5 fewer than you wanted? In terms of then, if for whatever reason they did grant it, and it's 5 short of what you want, do you know what you wanna do? Do you think you wanna go back to them, or would you just?
If it wasn't a typo, then we can remove 5 storage spaces rather than go back to the ZBA.
Okay, so we're not gonna resolve this evening. We'll have to figure out what was intended. So,
Just a reminder too, as far as the proposed, it is an unlisted action. You did previously decide to do an uncoordinated review, that way the ZBA was able to do their own standard review, so you will need, and I can prepare an EAF part 2
and
an egg deck for
okay,
when they return.
okay. So, I'm getting back to comments. So, storage area, G&H to the rear of the building will not be fenced. Applicant has indicated that storage will be on pallets. And then other comments have been addressed. And then Ashley, any comments?
No, really just the variance.
Okay. So, do we have consensus that Ashley can prepare the Part 2 EAF, neg deck, and approval resolution?
We do.
Yes, okay. So we'll do that, but that resolution will depend on what is determined by the ZBA.
Okay.
So if it turns out that it's 5 fewer spaces that you can change over, then you just need to submit a plan indicating which you're not being removed, if that's the route you want to go. Do we know when the ZBA is going to get back to us?
Dave's been in,
Listing is 611,
Okay,
so you take the 31 away and you're at 580.
okay,
So then you have the cover letter, I think that was submitted said 26,
right, and it's the 31.
and the ZBA decision says 26, so I think it's just a question of what.
So we're not going to be able to resolve this tonight. We have to figure out what ultimately is a typo, or did they grant relief from 5 fewer than you wanted? In terms of then, if for whatever reason they did grant it, and it's 5 short of what you want, do you know what you want to do? Do you think you're going to want to go back to them, or would you just?
If it wasn't a typo, then we can remove 5 storage spaces rather than go back to the ZBA.
Okay, so we're not going to resolve this evening. We'll have to figure out what was intended. So,
Just a reminder too, as far as secret goes, it is an unlisted action. You did previously decide to do an uncoordinated review, that way the ZBA was able to do their own standard review, so you will need, and I can prepare an EAF part 2.
Listing is 611,
okay,
so you take the 31 away and you're at 580.
okay,
So then you have the cover letter, I think that was submitted said 26,
right, and it's the 31.
and the ZBA decision says 26, so I think it's just a question of what.
So we're not going to be able to resolve this tonight. We have to figure out what ultimately is a typo, or did they grant relief from 5 fewer than you wanted? In terms of then, if for whatever reason they did grant it, and it's 5 short of what you want, do you know what you want to do? Do you think you're going to want to go back to them, or would you just?
If it wasn't a typo, then we can remove 5 storage spaces rather than go back to the ZBA.
Okay, so we're not going to resolve this evening. We'll have to figure out what was intended. So,
Just a reminder too, as far as secret goes, it is an unlisted action. You did previously decide to do an uncoordinated review, that way the ZBA was able to do their own standard review, so you will need, and I can prepare an EAF part 2
and
neg deck for
okay,
when they return.
okay. So, I'm getting back to comments. So, storage area, G&H to the rear of the building will not be fenced. Applicant has indicated that storage will be on pallets. And then your other comments have been addressed. And then Ashley, any comments?
No, really just the variance.
Okay. So, do we have consensus that Ashley can prepare the Part 2 EAF, neg deck, and approval resolution?
We do.
Yes, okay. So we'll do that, but that resolution will depend on what is determined by the ZBA.
Okay.
So if it turns out that it's 5 fewer spaces that you can change over, then you just need to submit a plan indicating which you're not being removed, if that's the route you want to go. Do we know when the ZBA is going to get back to us?
Dave's been in court for the last 2 days,
Okay.
so I've left 2 messages.
And Ashley, are you in communication with David?
Maureen had reached out to him, so
Okay.
but I think.
Yeah, maybe just some talk will do. Yeah. So I think that's all we can do this evening.
Okay.
But
Makes sense.
we're prepped for July to make some decisions.
And that'll be a public hearing, correct?
So that's, I'm going to ask, the public hearing is not required, it's discretionary, so I don't know whether the board felt.
What kind of support feel?
I don't see any.
Do you feel a need for a public hearing? They haven't met the ZBA. Do you feel a need for a public
No.
hearing? No? No. An
emphatic
no. Or a no.
Absolutely.
No. It was, they had the ZBA, so. it
I
was
don't
up to
believe
ZBA.
anyone came based on the resolutions.
Okay, all right. So that's everything's in order?
Dorn.
Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry, GML. It does require referral.
Okay.
So Noreen,
Noreen, if you could send that out?
Sure.
if you're able to do it tomorrow, hopefully I'll get a response back.
I
By,
will do it in the morning.
thank you.
You're welcome.
That'd be good, so then.
Because now, although it's 30 days with this new system, I think it's based on 30 days from when they accept it on the system, so
Yeah,
it ends up taking more.
a little bit more time, yeah. I feel like for the most part, it's okay, but, yeah.
And sometimes there's a lag too between the date of the report and the actual ends up on it. So
What does that entail? Is that a referral to Orange County?
the Orange County planning,
That's the general municipal law review. And are we sending it because they're within a certain distance of the border?
yeah, it's Harriman.
Harriman, Monroe, you're within 500 feet of one of the municipal boundaries, so
Village Town
it has to
Library.
get transmitted.
Okay. The ZBA did require that we submit to the Village of Woodbury, right? So that's different from that.
So that was, they were required to get notice of public hearing to the village probably because you're within 500 feet of the Village of Woodbury boundary. So in this case, you're not having a hearing, so it's not a separate submission to the village, but it does require.
They required a site plan amendment in the Village of Woodbury.
Are there improvements within the Village of Woodbury?
They're not, no. We moved it out of the boundary, but after talking to the building department director, he confirmed that we would need to make a site plan amendment submission on as well. We're still in queue being reviewed by them.
You may want to talk to an attorney over there.
Yeah, I think I know. So you're saying that Woodbury was saying you need a
The ZBA brought it up, and then we reached out to Woodbury, because when we had initially reached out, when we were doing our due diligence, they had said, you don't need a submission, and then ZBA brought it up as a comment, and then the department director was like, no, you do need a submission, so.
I don't know what you need a submission to do.
Yeah.
There's nothing going on in that site, unless they feel like it's an overall site, but you're not affecting.
It's not reducing it unless they're.
So, just, as an aside, but getting back to GML, this action doesn't fall within, because they have exceptions.
Not,
don't they?
yeah, they do have exceptions, but not for
this.
this.
All right.
So for this GML, are we making a submission to the county? or-
No, that's something the town.
We'll take care of it.
Okay.
It's electronic submission, so
Okay.
we'll send that in.
Okay. Sounds good.
But, yeah, maybe we follow up and find out, because this doesn't sound reasonable to have to, for you to have to go to Woodbury.
Yeah, just what I have the escrow involved in that as well, so we
Yeah.
needed to know.
Oh, so did you already submit this?
So you
ZBA.
applied to Woodbury.
Yeah, ZBA wouldn't give the variance approval. That was one of their comments.
Our ZBA wouldn't.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's interesting though, because it's not a condition of the ZBA.
No. It just said
That's what I was surprised at.
compliance with all other laws and regulations. So I don't know if that's a catch-all. Maybe another thing to talk to David about. It just seems like a heavy lift for the fact that you're removing parking spaces in a row.
Yeah.
Yeah.